Hey lovelies, it is Susie Ashworth here, mind shift and messaging mentor. And I should probably start by saying I'm a little bit sorry because I'm a little bit late. I kind of posted in my groups, I'm going to be on in 5, I'm going to be on in 5. And then we had some whole sunshine issue like in my face. And so yeah, I'm here at like 7 minutes past 5. Hey Tara, I'm like, come on girl, you finished work now. What are you doing? And hey, ready, steady, joy, you beautiful human being. And I'm also on Insta, so I might be looking up and looking down, looking up, looking down. Hey, Helen. Hey, Lucy. Right. So I want to say, ask me as many questions. Hey, Holly, you beautiful lady. Ask me as many questions as you like. I'm going to try and give it all to you. I've put it together in a blog post, so don't worry if you miss some because you're going to be able to pick it up for sure. But yeah, I wanted to share it with you. So the last launch that I did, or the last kind of big launch that I did, was back in September. Hey Hannah, with the Limitless Life Experience, and I had really clear goals. So the goal was to get 50 people in. Well, the goal was to get 50 people in. There were no monetary goals. And it was amazing because I got the 50 people in. I think we had 52 people in the end. And it was an amazing launch. The launch brought in 47,000. And I think that when you have a launch like that, which kind of massively exceeds your expectation, it was weird because I hadn't really thought about the cash element. So it was all about the number of people that I got in. And so when we kind of looked at the balance sheet, I was a bit like, oh my God, that's amazing. And whilst that is really great in setting you up for a new normal and raising the bar when it comes to you setting your goals, I think that it's really, really common for you to get a sense of, shit, like, am I going to be able to do that again? Am I going to be able to repeat that success? And I think that often when you have a really, really big win, it's so common for you to then retreat and then go back into your safety zone because you're worried that it's just going to be a fluke. And because you feel that you have to set a bigger goal, you are then you're kind of opening yourself up for an even bigger failure. Let me know if that makes sense. So, oh, all right, Del. So that's where I was, and I knew that I was going to be launching in January, and I knew that I wanted to get more people in, and obviously I wanted to increase the monetary value of the launch. But from a mindset perspective, I felt that contraction and I felt that, ooh, am I going to be able to do it again? And so there was a lot of ups and downs from a mindset perspective during this launch. However, hey Sean, you gorgeous human being. However, what has been, how it all rolled out was, whilst I didn't hit the goal in terms of the numbers of people, I absolutely smashed it in terms of the monetary goal. And that's the first thing that I did differently with this launch, is that I said to myself, I either want 75 people or 75K. Now, if you're in the community already, you will hear me say, split goals get split results. And so, hello, babe. And that's exactly what we got. Because I wasn't focused on one thing in particular, the money side, we absolutely smashed, but I didn't get the number of people. And it was really interesting because I was focused on the number of people when it came to cart open. And so even though I was getting the PayPal notifications, I wasn't as high as what I would normally expect to be during that period, because this whole launch had been around doubling my income and my impact, and we led with impact. But because it felt scary to be like, oh, I want to increase the numbers by another 25 women, it's kind of easier to allow myself to daydream around the monetary goals than it was the people goal. So it's interesting to me that we hit 84,500, which smashed the 75k, but we didn't get there on the number of people. But we will next time. I am declaring for the next launch of the Limitless Life Experience, the focus is going to be on getting 111 amazing women who are ready to absolutely skyrocket their income, their abundance, their impact, everything within their life. So I've got loads of lifers on, well, say loads, 6 of you beauties. So please let me be accountable and let me know that you are supporting that. Yay! Exactly. It's all about the 111. So the way that I did this launch was in 2 phases. So you may have recalled, if you saw any of my lives or read any of my blogs, me just going on about the fact that January felt like it was the longest month in history. And it was. It so was. It was 5 weeks. And because I absolutely kind of hit the ground running on the 1st of January, because we did a 5-day challenge, and the 5-day challenge was called, what was it called? Reboot, what was it called? Reboot and Rise. I think Reflect, Reboot and Rise. And so, yeah, from the 1st of January. And then, so we did 5 days on, and then 4 days of cart open, and then I had 2 weeks off. The reason that I had done that is because I was getting my website developed, and I knew I was going to have to be going back and forth with my developers around content and visuals, and it just all felt like it was going to be too claustrophobic. So I wanted to give myself a break in between the launch so that I could kind of finish strong. Now, my time off wasn't time off at all. During that time, because the conversions, so, God, I'm jumping around. So it wasn't time off. Because the conversions were not as high on the challenge aspect, which there are reasons for, and I will go through my wins and then I will go through my learnings, it wasn't as high. I felt like I needed to be more present and have more activities going on in my pop-up group so that people were really aware that we hadn't finished and I was still around and I was still able to be of service and I was still able to answer questions and kind of G people along. So the time off that I thought that I was having didn't really happen. And so what it meant was essentially I was launching for 5 weeks straight. And I know that a lot of people say that the longer you launch, the more money you make. I also know plenty of examples of people who go for a 2-week launch window and absolutely smash it. And a really good example of that is the amazing Denise Duffel-Thomas from The Lucky Bitch, and they were launching during the same period, but they did it, I'm not sure if it was 10 or 14 days, they smashed it. So I know for me and my energy levels moving forward, I will not choose to launch over a 5-week period unless, caveat that, unless I am a lot more organised. There was the organisation for this launch, there was a lot to be desired, and I will come on to that. So phase 1 was a 5-day challenge, and phase 2 was a series of 3 webinars. And again, what was interesting about the webinars is that the strategy for the second part of the launch changed 1,000,001 times. I was going to do marathon coaching sessions, and then I was going to do 1 webinar that I was going to do an encore for, and then I was going to do 3 sets. It was like all of the things. And by the time we got to week 4 of January, I was knackered, and I decided, rather than doing kind of like 8-hour coaching sessions, which is what I had thought about doing, that I would pare it all down and I would just run with a webinar series. And that was successful and not as successful as what I thought it was going to be. And again, I will share my learnings for that. So my wins from this launch, as I've said, was smashing the financial goal. That was amazing. We had a goal of 75k and we hit 84,500. The second win was spending just a smidge more on Facebook ads than what I spent in August. So August or September. So this time I ended up spending £7,800 and last time I spent £7,500. Now, were the ads as successful as the first time? It's difficult to say because I know that some of the people who signed up this time around came from that campaign. And so this is what I want to say is that if you're going to use Facebook ads, and the guy who runs my Facebook ads says this all of the time, Martin Jolly Jarvis, Facebook ads are about building relationships. It's not about the quick win when you're looking at high ticket sales. So sales where you're looking for any investment over £50, you're looking at a long-term gain. So I know that people who were on my list, who joined my list in August, went through Master Your Message, didn't buy then, and then had 3 or 4 months of me emailing consistently every single week, then coming onto my Facebook page and looking at my Facebook Lives, they got the opportunity to get to know me. Let me know if this is making sense, because I hear this again and again with people on Facebook ads and people looking for the quick win and then being upset or feeling like it hasn't worked. I know that money I spent in August came back to me in terms of return on investment in September. So really take the long-term gain when it comes to your Facebook ads, please. Don't freak out. Don't freak out if you don't get the conversions. However, when it comes to the actual conversions from people that signed up to people who bought from this round of the challenge, we had 16. So I had 54 people sign up in total, and 16 of those people came from the Facebook ads that I ran this time. So were they as successful as last time? Not in terms of direct conversions like for like, but we've got a whole lifetime of working with each other and me offering service and giving people the opportunities to buy. So again, it will be really nice to measure the next time I launch, which will probably be October, November time, the Limitless Life Experience. It'll be really interesting to know the specifics on that, so I can hit you up and share that information. But in terms of the amount of money, I spent £7,800 and I had a launch of 84,500. Now you may be asking how, when I had 52 people last time and I only had 54 people this time, that I had such a jump in income. Well, the reason is that I changed my business model. Now, everybody should tell you, and if they're not telling you, they're doing you a disservice. When you launch an e-course, particularly when it's a live kind of group coaching experience like the Limitless Life Experience, you have the opportunity to really get to know your clients' needs on a much deeper level once they're in the program. And what everybody was saying to me week after week after week when we started Limitless Life is, this is amazing, but I can't keep up. This is amazing, but there's too much information. This is amazing, but I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so what I did was I lengthened the course from 111 days to 5.5 months. So I pretty much doubled the length of time that I am supporting these beautiful women over here and here. And that felt really, really good for me, because I'm in it for the long game and I want to be able to see your transformation. And even though there were amazing transformations in 3.5 months, I just know that what we did in 3.5 months, when we take that to 5.5 months, is going to be off the scale. But because it's a live group coaching experience where I'm going on twice a week, most weeks, to support people in their questions and guide them through the program, obviously the price has to go up because I'm offering more value. And so the price went up from the full price last time was $797 and the early bird price was $597. And so I took it up to $797 being the early bird and then $997 being the full price, which is still an absolute steal, actually, for pretty much 6 months worth of coaching from moi. And so that's why, so that's part of it. And then, of course, I had a VIP option. So one of the things I will say to you is if you're in a service-based industry and you are offering a service that's kind of a standard, I hate using that word because it's not good enough. With the Limitless Life, I have the gold members and then I have the VIP members. So if you have a gold level standard, see where you can add a platinum option. Because there will always be people, and for me, the platinum option means more time. The VIPs have their own private group. I pop in there, not every single day and do a live, but I'm in there kind of whenever I get inspiration. I share what's going on in my journey with them, and I give them on-the-spot coaching when they need it, whether that's on a live or just responding in more depth to their questions. And then they also have kind of the supportive group of people. You've got a couple of my private clients in there as well. So that group, I think I'm not sure if it's 9 or 10 people that are in there right now. So it's a much more intimate setting. And then because I am working with them for 6 months as opposed to 3.5 months, the price of that increased from £3,000 to £6,000. So that's where the increase came from. And what's really lovely is that we had 3 of the people who were gold members in September upgraded. So we had 1 person who renewed as a VIP and then 2 people upgraded because they'd got so much from the gold standard, the gold level of the course. So that made me feel really, really positive. But that's how you go from 47 to 84. You add more value. For me, the value includes time, but it doesn't have to be time-based. Does that make sense? But where you are adding more value, I give you permission, but give yourself permission to charge more. And the reality is that when I think about the level of service and I think about the pricing, I definitely know that there is room for that to increase as well. Let me know, peeps. I need to know if I'm making sense. So, who gave me an angry face? Naughty. So having the 2 tiers was a great win, and it's something that I will endeavour to do on as many of my programs as possible. Another win was pre-selling. So as soon as I knew what the format of the course was going to be, I reached out to people who I thought would really benefit from VIP or had spoken to me about the program before, and I gave them early bird options. That's a really, really great way to get yourself going. And kind of it's that confidence building that people are going to want to buy the program. So I really invite you again, when you know that you're going to be selling something new, like reach out to people. There are people within your community who you absolutely know that you can offer value to. You know you can help them on the road with their transformation. They're not going to come to you unless you go to them. Don't feel embarrassed about saying, this is going on. Do you want to have a chat about it? If they say no, that's cool. And if they say yes, that's really freaking cool. And that's what I did. And I think that before we even started the launch, I had 5 or 6 people in, which again is great. So pre-sell. Another massive win for me was just the actual feedback from the challenge during and then after. And my tip, and I've got a worksheet for you guys if you are thinking about running a 5-day or 7-day challenge, hey Philippa, in the near future, then please, I will put it in the description of this, but I'll also pop it in the comments. Please sign up. It's my challenge checklist, and it's the exact steps I went through to have this amazing launch. The reason that I love challenges is because it's a great opportunity to get loads of people who are all doing the same thing and get them really excited about what it is that they are doing. Now, I prefer 5 days, and I believe, I've heard from many people, but I don't know what the science is behind it, but I've heard that 5 days is the optimum day for a challenge. I've run 10-day ones before, and it's too long for me. Like, it takes a lot of energy. There are quite a few moving pieces when it comes to putting a challenge together, and because even though I always say I'm not going to comment on everybody's videos, I'm not going to comment on everybody's posts, I really like commenting on most people's videos and posts, and so it's just quite a lot of energy to have to sustain over a period longer than 5 days. Now, 5 days is an absolutely amazing period of time for people to have a small transformation and a small aha. What came up from the Reflect and Reboot challenges, people weren't just having small ahas, they were having massive, great, big, like, woohoo! This is great. I hadn't thought about this before. I hadn't looked at it like that before. Oh wow, I really need to let this shit go if I'm about to step into the highest vision that I have for myself. Wow, I'm allowed to have a big vision for myself. And all of these people were like popping and then sharing. And what was even better, no, not even better, what was equally as good as the people who were signing up, but people who were saying, do you know what? This isn't for me right now, but the last 5 days have been amazing. And to be able to get that live feedback from people, like, genuinely, that is why I'm doing what I do. Like, I love the challenge is called Reflect and Reboot, so you can double your impact and double your income. The impact, and when people are sharing that with you, that's amazing. So I really, really love that format, and I think that if you are looking to get a number of people into a group program, that challenge and system is really, really effective. So that was a win. Now, oh, my one top tip for you is don't overload people with loads of content when you're doing challenges. So learn from my mistakes with the actual Limitless Live program. Don't feel like you need to pour it all in. When we create space, and that is my thing, actually, I love creating space for people to think. When we create space, we allow it's space for the cogs to start turning and people having their own realizations. You don't have to kind of be like, I know all the things, I know everything, have it all, like, let me vomit on you. It's overwhelming, and when people feel like they've got to take time out to really sit and digest and go through a 20-minute video, you lose engagement. So keep it really, really simple. And it's hard, like before, it's less hard for me now because I have done this a number of times, but I always think, oh, is this enough? And then I get amazing feedback from people going, this was great. So keep your challenge content simple. Okay, so they are the wins. These are the learnings. So you don't have to spend, as I said in the beginning, you don't have to spend a whole 5 weeks to have a massive launch. You really genuinely don't. But you do have to have a solid plan, peeps. And I have to say, what was amazing about this launch is really, it was freaking successful. It was really successful, and I have to kind of feel comfortable with owning that. But I think the reason that I'm a bit like, really? Did that just happen? Is because it felt so chaotic. It was more stressful than the September launch because there was a lack of organization, which all falls on my shoulders. I was still like typing up sales emails on the day or the day before that they were supposed to go out, so much so that when my internet went down on the last day of the cart being open, I didn't send out any emails. It's like you're told again and again and again when it comes to internet marketing, often 60 or 70% of your sales come with those last emails on the last day. How many emails went out? None. It's like, what was going on? I was just really disorganized. But when you're doing a challenge, or when you're doing webinars, or you're trying to launch, getting your shit together early on is really important. It just gives you space so you can concentrate on the content and the people and really enjoying the process. It's totally possible to enjoy it. I loved it when I did it in September. It was a lot harder because I was kind of frantically working against myself. I'm just going to have a look. Anna's just saying, this is so useful, Susie, thank you. I'm totally struggling with confidence whilst in the launch phase of my new course. Yeah, I get it. I really, really get it. And I hope, hearing that even though the launch on the outside looks like a well-oiled machine, but actually it was a little bit of a shit show behind the scenes. The difference is that when you have enough people, and often the success of your launch is about having enough people seeing and engaging with your content. Like, I know that you create great content, so it's about having enough people there. So really take a breath, be excited about Barcelona and what's going to come from that as well. And I also think just do what you're doing. Be consistent, show up every day, even when you don't feel like it. And so what I will say that I did is, even though no emails went out on the last day, I was in the group. I was like posting in the group because I was able to do that from my phone. And a lot of the energy and the excitement came from people being in the group. Jade, why do you do your reboot challenge in a separate group? I've been trying to decide whether to do a challenge in my existing group or a new one. So I do my reboot challenge in a separate group because it is not specifically targeted at pre and postnatal specialists, and my other group is targeted at pre and postnatal specialists, and it doesn't feel actually like that group is my home anymore. I am working with service-based, heart-centered entrepreneurs who want to make a difference, and it doesn't really matter if they're in baby businesses or not. And so I set up that group because it reflects the fact that my audience is growing and my ideal clients come from different fields. They're creative and they're heart-centered, and they're into a little bit of woo, or they're open to a little bit of woo, and that's not necessarily reflected in the pre and postnatal group. So that's why I do it in a separate group. But my advice to my clients, when you are on brand, when your niche is on point, you don't need to open a different group. You don't need to. And I think the other thing with me is that I love my activity being on my page. Like, that's where I am looking to build my community moving forward. And so I shut the group down once the challenge is over, because I also want to be able to really distinguish the value. I know what I'm like. So if I can see that there's a question from somebody in the free group where it's going to take a little bit of energy and time, but I want to go in there and answer it, then I'm going to do that. And actually, I want to reserve that for my baby business school people and for my lifers and for my VIP clients. So for me, it works to shut that group down, and then I deliver my value and my content on my page on a regular basis for everybody. Okay, perfect. So get yourself organized. Launching for a month. Yep, done that one. Too much content. Oh, okay. So my webinars. So I did through. Now, I love a webinar launch, and I have launched off the back of webinars a fair few times now. I'm not going to say loads of times because that's not true, but I've done it a fair few times now. What I tried with this launch was to do 3 different webinars, and they had 3 different titles. So one was about, I think one was about, was it about mastering your message? maybe the first one was about message, the second one was about pricing, and the third one was about, what was the third one? I kind of feel like it was like 50 billion years ago. I think the third one was an opportunity for us to do some coaching, but I can't remember what I called it. Anyway, the reason why my challenge at the start of the month did not get as many conversions as what I would have expected it to get is because I also primed people to wait for the webinar. So the incentive that people had to sign up at the early bird rate for Limitless Life was the fact that when I reopened the cart, the price was going to be higher. So people did sign up. I think I probably had about 23 people sign up after the first week. But it wasn't as high for the number of participants as I would have expected. It wasn't as high as what it was in September. Lots of people were waiting for the webinar. Now, what's really interesting is that what I teach when it comes to messaging and sales messaging is you always give people a reason to buy now. And whilst the monetary thing, it was a reason, there are 3 other amazing reasons to wait and see if people thought the program was really going to be for them. Does that make sense? The other thing is that I didn't really emphasize the fact that people were, that it was the early bird price was disappearing forever. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't want to go hard on that, and so I didn't really emphasize it. Whereas I did say, we'll be back. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I'll be back. And so, of course, from a psychological perspective, people who were on the fence are like, well, I'm going to wait to see if this girl delivers again during the webinar series. So that was a real learning experience. Rather than spreading it out and being like, I'll be back, next time I will make sure that it's all condensed. And if I want to kind of tag those 2 strategies together, I will probably wait until after I've delivered all of the webinars. Yeah, I will wait until I've delivered all of the webinars to open the cart. Let me know if that makes sense or if that's confusing. So 3 webinars, 3 different pieces of content. Too much information, peeps. That was too much information. What was amazing, again, about the webinars was that people who didn't sign up and people who did sign up have both said the same thing. It was amazing to come onto a masterclass and not be fed 20 minutes of this is my story and I'm so amazing and this and this and this, and I'm not actually going to tell you anything but one measly little piece of information. Do you know what I mean? That's what a lot of people are used to when they sign up for webinars. And loads of people said, we didn't get that with you, and it was lovely. I had somebody send me a graphic novel as a thank you for the content that I'd shared. So whilst that was great, what I didn't do in those webinars, which again is something that I teach my clients, and something I have to say usually I'm very good at, is that there wasn't a clear knowledge gap. So people had all of this inspiration and mindset stuff in the beginning, and then they had like really meaty content to get on with from the webinars. And so for some people, there just wasn't, they didn't need to take the next step to join LLE because they already had so much to get on with. Does that make sense? And I found the webinars really good, but for me, it followed on nicely from doing LLE. Really interesting. So yeah, I will pare it back. And for some of the early birders, I have put together a content creation workshop where I talk about the best way to structure things. And interestingly enough, whereas I normally follow it, I kind of went a little bit off-piste. And again, I went off-piste because I was disorganized. I was a bit like, right, I need to get this together, and what's going to be the best thing, and blah blah blah, and kind of just banged it out. So great content, but it was too much. And so therefore, again, the conversions were lower than what I would have expected them to be for the number of people who'd signed up. And I say this really appreciating the fact that we had 54, in fact, I think it was 55 people in the end who signed up for the program, which is just freaking amazing. But it's just not quite what I thought it was going to be, or it's not quite the intention of 75. Other learnings: clear your diaries of all of the things. So I remembered this lesson from my last launch when it came to booking clients. I really didn't see any clients whilst I was heavily in launch mode, but I was still doing loads of stuff on the website, and I had to plan a trip to New York, and I was doing this, and it was exhausting. It was really tiring. And so again, when you're going into launch mode, clear your diaries. Really try not to be doing anything at all. That was a big lesson. And yes, and finally, the mindset bit. I'm reading because I've put this together to go on the blog. So I said earlier on, split goals get split results, and that is exactly what happened. So I really recommend. So look, with my clients, I say it's fair to have a medium. This is the goal that we want to get, and then you have your better. So this would be great if we got that, and then you have your, that would be freaking amazing. And what I did last time is I had my good, better, best goals, but my focus was completely around the better goal, which was 50, and that's really all I thought about. And this time I was a bit airy-fairy. So just be specific, give yourself permission to have tiered goals, but really tune in to the one thing that you really, really want to get. Yeah, keep doing the work. And this is particularly relevant for you, Anna, who's kind of feeling a little bit shaky. Just show up every single day, even when you think that it's not going to happen. I have to say that I did not even think that we were going to hit the 75 points during this launch, but I just kept showing up and I just kept doing the work. And I did, when I was actually on live and interacting with people, I just wanted to have fun, and I just wanted to be of service. And I just kept having fun and being of service when I was online with people, and the sales came in. So don't give up. It's really easy to just be a bit like, oh, fuck it. Do you know what I mean? Don't do that. Just stay in the room. The intention. So I talk a lot about acting in alignment. And I think that lots of people say they want something, and then the action doesn't back, the action and intention on a daily basis doesn't back up the thing that you want. And that's where the kind of sabotage comes in. That's where the falling short comes in. So just be very, very intentional. Ask yourself, why am I doing this thing? And then how do I feel about doing this thing? And how am I feeling? You know, what's my intention about how I want to feel when doing this thing? What's my intention about how I'm going to show up for the people that I want to engage with today? Really just come from a place of service. I'm always talking about letting go and surrendering, and during this process I worked with an energy healer to help me let go of things that were blocking me. So like, I'm just a bit, I suppose what I'm saying here is just do all of the things. You know what I say, 80% mindset, 20% strategy. The healer is a mindset thing. You know, the letting go and the surrendering, and what do I need to let go of in order to allow myself to step into receiving £75,000 for this launch? What do I need to let go of? Like, that's a really important question. So be asking yourself, Anna, what is it that I need to let go of in order to fully embrace, to fully show up, to fully hit the goals that I want to hit? Be asking yourself that every day, and do the release work every single day. And my final tip, you're not going to be able to see this, it's normal to feel up and down during a launch. It really, really is. And I feel very fortunate that I have, I've got my coach, I have my mentors, I have my biz buddies, I have my masterminds. I have so many places where I can go, and I have people that I can speak to specifically about strategy. I have people that I can speak to specifically about mindset. Like, I have really surrounded myself, you know, and I've paid for this as well. There is a difference. It's great having your friends, but it is also there is a difference in the type of quality of advice and support that you get. Hey, Mark, when you invest with people who are doing this and who get it. And so whilst I was doing my launch, I had times where I was just like, oh, this is really fucking shit. And people were like, it's okay, I gotcha. Have you thought about this? Are you doing that? Are you looking after yourself? Have you done? And it was really, really helpful. And you know, at the end of the day, we had an amazing, amazing result. And so right throughout this, I've kept saying we, and that's because I do this with my team, and I couldn't do it without a team in the way that I've done it, even though this time it was disorganized, but that was my fault, not theirs. But I have my assistant, and I have Facebook ads person, and I have my technical person. So for these, my team's actually grown now, but for this launch, these were the 3 other people who were supporting me. If you're not at that stage in your business, and I have done this without having a team, I have done this with just me doing all of the things, give yourself time. So it means that even if you have to move the launch date back a week, just so you can kind of get your shit together, do that and make it easier for yourself. But this time I've done it with the team. But I know women who are earning £750,000 a month doing it with 2 people. So do you know what I mean? Like, don't let that become the story as to why you can't do this, because you absolutely can. And the one thing that I haven't really emphasized here, but hey, Anya, for any of you who are doing this and you're new to this, I said this in my Limitless Life group the other day, because someone was like, oh, I'm afraid of being salesy. I'm afraid of being salesy. And it's like, do you think I'm salesy? And they're like, no, we don't think you're salesy. And I'm like, during my launch, which lasted for 31 days, I asked for the sale pretty much every day. And even if I wasn't directly asking for the sale, the service was all about showing people what it's like to work with me on a deeper level. And so even if I didn't directly say it, when we were in open cart period, I asked for the sale every day. You've got to ask for the sale. And if you're not doing that, you can't expect to get the people in. That's your job. Asking for the sale is part of being in alignment with somebody who is hitting their financial targets. You can't expect to hit your financial targets if you're scared of asking for the sale. So that's a really, really big deal. So that is it, peeps. I have created a lovely challenge checklist for you. So I will put this for people who are, hey Michelle, people who watch this on Insta, come over to my Facebook page, Susie Ashworth 2, and you'll be able to see it there in the description of the anatomy of an £84,500 launch. I would love for you to have it, and for peeps who are on here, I will upload it in a bit. So any questions, I will come back to this thread, so please don't hesitate to leave them and I will feed back to you. So look, I hope that was helpful and I will speak to you soon. Mwah.